This man had just sat down at the table with Hartner when he performed perverted actions. He not only approached the girl, but also put his arm around her shoulder in an intimate manner. Despite the girl's discomfort, this lewd man kept emphasizing that he was single. Above all, he had a lot of money, so he could definitely make her happy. Despite the slight age difference, he promised to give the girl a villa as a compensation gift if she followed him. However, with this shameless perversion of the man, the girl remained very calm and said that there were still many other men in the world who desired her and that he was not qualified to have her. After the girl left, the man felt that he could not lose his prey so easily, so he ran after the girl, pressed her against the wall, and wanted to do something depraved. The girl, who was forced to kiss, immediately used all her strength to resist. After that, she warned him not to go too far. But after escaping from the perverted man, the girl sat down on the ground in pain and started crying loudly. She cried not because she was raped, but because the man who had just done perverted things to her was her biological father who had abandoned her. Now she returned and took revenge on all those who had hurt her, and that perverted father was no exception. No one could have guessed that the beautiful girl from back then was actually a boy. Chan's father was rich, but he was extremely fond of girls. He even brazenly brought girls home to have sex. Since childhood, Chan had to go through days of mental suffering when he had to listen to his parents arguing every day. Chan's life was like hell on earth, making him gradually have an awareness of his true gender. The boy always wanted to be a girl. His mother understood Chan's thoughts, so she often put makeup on him, but his lustful father did not agree with this. He thought that it was because the mother often put makeup on Chan that Chan became like that. He thought that his wife knew he hated this, so she did it on purpose. Chan was scared and called father, but he felt disgusted and did not want Chan to call him father. He also loudly said that Chan was different, not a boy nor a girl. The mother did not accept that her son was hurt, so the two got into a fight. Finally, because she could not bear it any longer, the mother decided to divorce and move to England with her son. The mother knew that her son was aware of his gender, so she waited until he grew up to take him for sex reassignment surgery. With his mother's support, Chan successfully underwent the surgery and changed his name to Nira. It did not matter what gender Nira was, because in the mother's eyes, as long as her children live healthy and happy, that's enough. The mother and Nira imagined a beautiful life in the future, but what awaited them was always unexpected. The mother wanted to help Nira completely escape her father's harassment, so she asked the housekeeper to create a new identity for Nira through a hacker. But just as Nira and her mother were about to start a new life, an unexpected accident happened. On the way home, Nira's mother received a call from her father in a drunken state. When the father knew that his son's sex reassignment surgery had been successful, he was extremely angry and called Nira's mother to scold her. The two argued. Nira's mother angrily threw the phone aside after hearing it, but he wouldn't let it go and kept calling. Nira's mother tried to reach for the phone, but unfortunately, in a moment of carelessness, she crashed into a large car. Terrible accident happened. After Nira knew of her mother's death, she cried bitterly. She had lost her only loving mother. Nira frantically wanted to run out to find her mother, but the nurses tried to stop her. They then had to inject her with sedatives to calm her down. After the surgery, Nira had become an extremely beautiful girl. However, her eyes were filled with hatred. If it weren't for the bad father, she and her mother wouldn't have had to leave their homeland. Her mother wouldn't have died so tragically. To avenge her mother, Nira began to make a plan. First, she had to return to her country. The TV was reporting about the famous former model Nizamon. She was the ex-wife of real estate tycoon Siriwat. She had died in a car accident in England along with the tycoon's only son. The news also stated that Siriwat had had their remains collected and brought back for a religious ceremony. Siriwat's younger sister was watching the news with a calm face. Because there were two people in the car, the media assumed that the other person was Nira. This unintentionally helped Nira a lot. No one knew the person they thought was dead had now appeared at the airport with a completely new identity. Nira returned to her sorrowful hometown. She used her beauty to start a plan of revenge. Nira vowed to take revenge on all those who forced her and her mother to leave their hometown. Nira returned to attend her own funeral. In order to not reveal her gender transition, Nira had to endure the pain of using sex change hormones. After his wife and son died in a car accident, Siriwat went to a bar to hug some beautiful girls. Siriwat's younger sister was even worse. Rumron even wanted to hold a press conference right at the funeral to advertise her bar. This was strongly opposed by Chat, her husband. He could not understand the heartlessness of this family. Perhaps only Chat was truly sad about the accident of Nira and her mother. The next day, Siriwat held a funeral for his wife and son, but he was not being kind. But this funeral was just to deceive the media. At the funeral scene at sea, Siriwat shamelessly hugged the two girls who came to the funeral. Seeing Chat and his wife walking to the opposite side, the two girls could not control themselves and rushed to surround Chat. They kept greeting Chat. The girl even stood in front of everyone and praised Chat for being handsome handsome. This attitude made Rung Rong extremely angry. In the end, Sirawat wanted to save face for his sister, so he took the two girls away. During the funeral, only Chat prayed sincerely. He went to the railing to remember the two deceased. Chat then scattered their ashes into the sea. On the contrary, Sirawat hugged the girl and laughed happily. He didn't even feel sad about the death of his loved one. Rung Rong was impatient and used her phone. She saw Chat praying from afar, and her face was full of mockery. After the funeral ended, Chat decided to leave. Didn't want to participate in the farce of his wife's family, but Rung Rong didn't let him do this. She turned around and blamed him that he had come but didn't attend the press conference, which was really disrespectful to her. Faced with this attitude, Chat couldn't hold back anymore. Chat asked Rung Rong why they couldn't show a little respect to the deceased at today's funeral. After saying that, he turned around and left. Rung Rong was initially very angry, but when the reporter's cameras moved in, her facial expression immediately changed. Rung Rong and Sirawat played their roles very well. The two acted out a play to build their image as good people. The two of them successfully created an ideal image of themselves. Nira sat in front of the TV and saw the two of them being so fake and heartless, and she felt extremely angry. The image of her father abusing Nira and her mother since she was little kept appearing in her mind. Nira would not forget what she had gone through. She would pay them back double for what Nira had endured. But when she had just taken a few steps outside, she unfortunately fainted. When she woke up, she realized that she was experiencing serious complications after the sex reassignment surgery. Nira needed to take a large amount of medication, but to keep it a secret, she had to find a trustworthy doctor, so she called her housekeeper in England. The housekeeper reminded Nira that if she wanted revenge, she had to find each person's weakness. Nira's father's weakness was definitely his lust, but the most urgent thing now was to find a trustworthy doctor. After a short conversation with the housekeeper, Nira had a suitable person in mind, so after dressing up, she prepared to meet her enemy. Nira gritted her teeth in anger when she saw her father and aunt in such a ridiculous manner. The painful memories from her childhood once again arose in Nira's heart. Just as Nira couldn't bear it and turned to leave, she accidentally bumped into Chat. They faced each other and touched each other awkwardly. Nira's scarf also accidentally slipped into Chat's hand. Nira saw a familiar face in front and was suddenly afraid. She was panicking, afraid of being recognized. Nira didn't have time to take back the scarf and hurriedly turned away. Chat wanted to chase after him to return the scarf, but Rung Rong called to urge him to go to the event. Quickly, Rung Rong saw her husband holding another woman's scarf. She was a selfish woman, so she couldn't accept this. Chat quickly explained that he had just accidentally bumped into a girl and the scarf had accidentally fallen into his hands. Hearing this, Rung Rong thought even more that someone was trying to seduce her husband. So right after the press conference ended, Rung Rong openly asked if anyone was the owner of the scarf. She also said that it had accidentally fallen into her husband's hands. Rung Rong frantically searched for the owner of the scarf. To everyone's surprise, at that moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Nira confidently stepped forward and did not hesitate to snatch back her scarf. Before leaving, Nira gently thanked Chat. Nira's actions made Rung Rong, who was standing next to her, extremely angry. Sirawat watched Nira leave with lingering feelings. He would never have guessed that the beautiful woman before his eyes was the useless son he often mentioned. After Nira left, she went to the doctor she was looking for. Even the doctor couldn't believe that Nira had successfully changed her gender. After confirming many times, the doctor finally identified Nira. It turned out that Nira had just completed a sex change surgery and was facing serious complications. Nira was looking for a trustworthy doctor, so she thought of the psychiatrist she had seen before her plastic surgery. Nira's mother and the doctor's late wife were close friends. He had also promised his wife that he would take good care of them, so when the doctor found out that Nira was still alive, he would definitely do his best to take care of her. After the doctor understood Nira's condition, he asked Nira to move into his house for better treatment. This was also in line with Nira's need for a legal identity, so she happily agreed. However, she offered to pay the doctor a regular rent, but he firmly refused. He also reminded Nira to speak softly like a woman so as not to arouse suspicion. In order to keep Nira's identity from being revealed, the doctor lied to his servant that Nira was his wife's younger sister. Because of this relationship, the maid, Miss An, also took good care of Nira. Miss An saw that Nira was too thin, so she advised Nira to eat more. Miss An also praised Nira's deep voice as very pleasant to listen to. This made Nira feel warm and like being in a family. Because the doctor refused to accept the rent, Nira decided to become the doctor's assistant. One day, Nira accidentally saw an important piece of information online. A rich woman was going to hold a fashion show. Rung Rong was one of the rich woman's partners. Nira began to come up with a plan. She remembered the image of her mother becoming beautiful after applying makeup. Nira decided to become a makeup artist. This way, Nira would easily approach Rung Rong to carry out her revenge plan. In the following days, Nira used Miss An's An's face to serve her makeup learning. Because her skills were still weak, Neera sometimes surprised the doctor with her strange makeup styles. As time passed, Neera's makeup skills became more and more sophisticated. She even received compliments from the doctor. Not long after, Neera received the opportunity to apply makeup for a rich woman, and this good news was all thanks to the doctor's recommendation. Finally, the time had come for Neera to carry out her revenge plan. Excellent makeup skills are really important. After Neera did her makeup at home, Miss An looked 20 years younger. The reason Neera wanted to become a makeup artist was to get close to her aunt and start her revenge plan. With the doctor's recommendation, Neera successfully got the opportunity to do makeup for the rich lady. In front of the rich lady, Neera calmly agreed, but in her heart, Neera was happy to have achieved initial success. After some beautiful and skillful moves, Neera instantly transformed this rich old lady into a radiant person. She looked at herself in the mirror and praised Neera's makeup as beautiful. After finishing her makeup, the rich lady went to the dinner party. She received many compliments from everyone, and she was very happy. The rich lady immediately called Neera to invite Neera to be her personal makeup artist. At first, Neera pretended to refuse to increase her value, but she finally agreed after the doctor's encouragement. Neera then went shopping for makeup tools. A makeup artist must have the style of a professional. Not long after, the rich lady made an appointment with Neera for makeup. The rich lady was very pleased when she saw Neera's expensive cosmetics collection. At that moment, she received a call from Neera's aunt. Rong wanted to make an appointment with Neera through the rich lady, but Neera refused immediately without thinking. How could Neera please her enemy? However, Neera wanted to lure her enemy into a trap, so she still left her phone number with the rich lady after finishing her makeup. At the party, the rich lady's beauty after getting makeup once again attracted attention. That made Rong jealous. In order not to be inferior, Rong asked the rich lady for Neera's phone number. The next day, Neera received a call from Rong. That familiar voice made Neera grit her teeth in anger. She refused without thinking. As soon as she hung up the phone, painful childhood memories flashed before Neera's eyes. Neera had to slap herself to calm down. Then she changed clothes and went out to continue her plan. Neera drove her bike and stepped on the gas pedal, crashing into Chat's car. When she was hit, Chat was initially determined not to forgive her, but when he saw the beautiful woman in front of him, he was immediately stunned. It turned out that Neera's makeup skills had attracted Rong's attention. Rong called Neera to ask her to do her makeup but was refused. However, this could not hurt Rong. Rong's fatal weakness was her husband. She could not stand any woman appearing next to Chat. What Rong did not want to see, Neera wanted to do even more, so she deliberately appeared next to Chat. Neera had arranged everything very meticulously, so Chat was indeed attracted to her. Although Neera was the one who caused the accident, Chat took the initiative to take responsibility. While waiting for the insurance company to come and handle it, Chat invited Neera out for coffee. He didn't want to miss any chance to be alone with her. Only after the insurance company had finished handling the accident did Neera turn around and leave. However, Neera was called back by Chat. He asked when they could meet again. He felt a little regretful. When he returned home, Chat was still lost in thought. He stared at the insurance papers and didn't even notice Rong approaching. Chat felt guilty, but he still subconsciously hid the insurance papers, but he didn't expect that the driver would come and ask when he would take car to be repaired. Hearing this, Rong immediately became angry and asked what happened to Chat, that he had to take the car to be repaired. Rong had hired someone to follow Chat, but how could she not know about this? So she immediately hired someone to investigate Chat. Turning a corner might not necessarily lead to love, but a car accident might. Even though what happened this morning was just a small accident, Chat's heart was filled with excitement and confusion. Ever since yesterday's breakup, Chat had been staring at the insurance papers stupidly. Finally, he had the courage to call the number on it, but what he didn't expect was that the person on the phone was a man. Chat could only awkwardly talk about the car accident and then quickly hung up. Chat didn't know that all of this was deliberately arranged by Neera. She deliberately left the doctor's phone number. Neera wanted to keep it a mystery to stimulate Chat's desire. While the two were talking, the doctor's phone rang again. This time, it was Rong calling. She was relieved to hear that person on the other end of the line was a man and hung up, but this call made the doctor suspicious about the accident. Neera knew that she had been discovered, so she frankly admitted that she had just crashed into Chat's car. But Neera insisted that the accident was really an accident. The doctor did not believe any of her explanations. He just thought that Neera was a bad woman who intentionally destroyed other people's families. This was the first time they had argued. In the end, the two could not resolve the matter, and the doctor was forced to leave in a bad mood. On the other side, the group of rich women were discussing enthusiastically about planning a fashion show. A rich woman suggested inviting Neera to be the makeup artist for the event, but Rong had been rejected by Neera before, so she was very unhappy with Neera's attitude. In the end, Rong reluctantly agreed because she wanted to save face for the rich lady. On the other hand, Miss An was was praising Neera's beauty. She thought that with such beauty, Neera should become a well-known star. Hearing these words, Neera suddenly fell silent. She remembered the times when her father abused her when she was young. At that time, Neera swore that she would do the opposite of what her father hated. Today, the rehearsal for the fashion show began. Neera intentionally changed her style. She became seductive but still did not lose her masculinity. Even Miss An was surprised and stared at her. When Neera arrived, she immediately met Rung Rong and Chat, who were opening the door together, but Neera was not ready to face them, so she quickly hid. Unfortunately, she accidentally bumped into manager Yodoi, who was calling a famous model. Manao said that she could not come to the rehearsal today. She clearly did not take Yodoi seriously. Manao thought that Yodoi was just a person who was neither male nor female, so he was not qualified to work with them. After hanging up the phone, Yodoi saw Neera standing next to him. Yodoi began to observe Neera from head to toe. Yodoi's gaze made Neera feel a little uncomfortable. Yodoi entered the banquet hall and politely greeted the rich lady, but Rung Rong looked down on Yodoi. She stared at Yodoi with disdain. Yodoi reluctantly responded. When everyone was about to start working, they discovered that Neera was nowhere to be found. Just as the rich lady was looking for Neera, Neera coldly walked in. Chat met Neera again. He could not control his emotions, so he hurriedly approached Neera. Chat said that he had called to discuss the insurance issue, but unexpectedly, he heard a man's voice. Neera had achieved her goal. She pretended to be cold and said that the man had already told her. This answer added to the mystery, making Chat unhappy. Meanwhile, Rung Rong saw her husband approaching another woman, which made her extremely angry. When Neera arrived, Rung Rong started teasing and laughing at her. Rung Rong asked Neera to put on makeup for her. Rung Rong even tried to show affection in front of Neera, but Chat did not want to cooperate with her. Neera saw these two people showing affection, so she decided to make them uncomfortable. Neera called the doctor and asked him to pick her up at 4 p.m. While Neera was putting on makeup, Rung Rong kept sarcastically saying that she thought Neera was trying to seduce her husband. Neera was also not tolerant when facing her enemy. At this time, the rich woman came to ask about her makeup style. Neera took the opportunity to mock Rung Rong. Neera said that she planned to use light makeup and mainly care for her skin because Rung Rong's bare face looked a bit dry and dull. The foundation should also be applied lightly, otherwise the foundation on Rung Rong's face will be thick. Then she will look even older. Neera also said that Rung Rong's lips were also chapped, probably due to a lack of hormones. Drinking more water and talking less would be good for Rung Rong. Hearing these words, Rung Rong was so angry that her eyes widened, but she couldn't refute. After Neera finished her makeup, everyone praised her exquisite makeup technique. Only Rung Rong complained that it was too bad and directly destroyed her makeup on the spot. But Neera didn't care because she didn't want to do Rung Rong's makeup either. When the rehearsal ended, Chat and the doctor were both waiting at the door. Neera smiled and walked past Chat and went to the doctor. Chat saw Neera and the doctor being so intimate and his heart ached. But at this moment, Rung Rong walked out. The four of them appeared together, creating a rather awkward scene. When Rung Rong approached the doctor to greet him, he said that he knew her. It turned out that she had called the doctor the day before because of Chat's car accident. Rung Rong's attitude at that time was extremely arrogant. Hearing this, Rung Rong immediately understood that the person who had collided with Chat was Neera. Her expression became disgusted, but how could Rung Rong bear it? So she immediately mocked Neera. Rung Rong implied that Neera made money with her beauty. She thought that Neera was the type of woman who served many types of customers. The doctor did not give in at all, but showed an indifferent attitude and emphasized that Neera was his sister. Then the doctor coldly led Neera away. On the way home, Neera kept talking about her grievances caused by her aunt. The doctor also comforted Neera not to pay attention. In another car, Chat knew that Rung Rong had been secretly following him, so he immediately proposed a divorce. When they returned home, the two argued loudly. Again, Chat went to the office in a bad mood. He kept thinking about the intimate image of Neera and the doctor. He didn't know how to meet Neera again. The next day, Neera told the doctor that she wanted to buy a CD. The doctor immediately introduced her to a store that he often visited. Fate is so magical. When Neera was choosing the CD she liked, Chat appeared behind her. When she turned around, Neera saw Chat looking at her with eyes full of affection. He even took the CD from her hand. Chat said he wanted to give it to Neera so that when she listened to the CD, she would remember him. These words made Neera embarrassed. Neera agreed to go out for coffee with Chat. At home, the doctor saw that Neera hadn't returned yet, so he called the owner of the CD store to ask. The owner said that after buying the CD, she went with Chat. The doctor felt something was wrong. He was worried that Neera would seduce his uncle again. At the restaurant, Neera saw Chat taking good care of her, and a sweet smile appeared on her face. Chat accidentally mentioned his nephew. That boy was Neera before her plastic surgery and gender reassignment surgery. What Chat didn't know was that his nephew was sitting across from him. When Chat mentioned his nephew's pain, Neera's eyes showed emotion. When leaving, Chat said that he wanted to see Neera every day, but she replied that if they met by chance, it was fine, but if they wanted to meet on purpose. She thought it was inappropriate for a married man. After saying that, she got in the car and left. Even though Nira had just strongly rejected for Chad at the record store, she still held the record he gave her tightly in her heart. The next morning, Yodoi and Baitong waited for Nira in front of the house early. After everyone went to work together, the main character of the day still hadn't arrived. Yodoi impatiently called Manao, but the assistant said Manao wanted to go out for coffee and would be there in 10 minutes. The three of them waited for Manao to arrive, but 30 minutes had passed and she still hadn't arrived. When Yodoi lost patience, Manao leisurely walked over. However, she just picked up her iPad and played games without cooperating with them. Even though taking measurements only took 10 minutes, Yodoi couldn't stand it this time. Manao had just become a little famous but was already acting arrogant. Yodoi went up to Manao to question her, but she didn't show any remorse. She also said that she was only attending the event to show respect to the rich lady. Then Manao mocked Yodoi for being old and having poor taste. Nira couldn't help but mock Manao. Manao angrily asked who Nira was. Manao knew that Nira was just a makeup artist, so she started mocking Nira as just an unknown makeup artist. Manao forced Nira to kneel in front of her. If Nira refused, she would not continue to participate in this event. At the same time, Manao threatened Nira that if Nira still wanted to continue in this industry, she should do it now. After speaking, Manao held out his leg for Nira to kneel. The situation was a bit awkward. Just when Nira was about to submit, Yodoi stopped her in time. Then he led Nira and Baitong away from the scene. On the way, Yodoi called the company and said that he wanted to support a newcomer. While Yodoi was talking about the conditions for the person he wanted to support, he accidentally saw Nira standing next to him. Wasn't this the main model he was looking for? Yodoi immediately hung up the phone and negotiated with Nira, but Nira didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked the housekeeper in England for advice, because he was the only person in the world that Nira trusted. Unexpectedly, the housekeeper was very supportive of her, so Nira asked Yodoi to meet at the cafe. Nira planned to replace Manao as the main model in the fashion show. She would take this opportunity to make a strong impression. Suddenly, Siruat appeared, but he was very understanding. He knew that he couldn't make any profit today, so he wasn't in a hurry. Siruat only left Nira his business card and wanted to meet again later. Nira's body tensed up. Yodoi signaled Nira to take it quickly, but as soon as she took the business card, he molested her. This made Nira feel extremely disgusted. Nira left the cafe and was attracted by two paintings from afar. Memories from the past came back. Those were paintings Nira drew with Chat when she was young. Nira didn't understand why they appeared here, so Nira decided to buy them at a high price. But as soon as Nira finished speaking, Chat walked out from inside. Nira was afraid of having her identity revealed, so she turned around and left, but Chat grabbed her hand and pulled her back. While the two were arguing, Siruat appeared from afar. Siruat witnessed this scene between Nira and Chat. He intentionally called Chat to invite him out for a drink, but Chat refused, saying he was busy working. Siruat saw the woman he liked with his brother-in-law. He smiled but felt very uncomfortable. That evening, Chat asked Nira to go to a restaurant far away, but their photo appeared on Rungrong's phone. She was so angry that she screamed like crazy and hurriedly sent the photo to Chat to question him. Seeing the photo, Chat panicked. Not understanding what was happening, he looked around as if he didn't see anyone suspicious. Chat decided to take Nira home immediately. When Nira returned home, the doctor was waiting for her there. He asked her why she was late. However, Nira didn't want to answer. She asked the doctor if he thought she was suitable to become a celebrity. The doctor frankly said that Nira's appearance and figure were completely suitable. However, psychologically, it depends on how much she can endure. The doctor advised her that it would be best to live the life that her mother had arranged for her. Nira should live quietly and comfortably, not come back here and become famous. But Nira reacted violently as soon as she heard this. Nira questioned the doctor if he thought she couldn't be recognized by everyone. Nira gradually lost control. She showed her anger and then went upstairs. The next morning, Rong went crazy when she discovered that her husband's belongings were gone in the room. It turned out that Chad had sent someone to the house to pick up her things this morning. He didn't want to live in the same house with her anymore. Thinking of this, Rong went crazy. She angrily blamed the maid for not informing her. In the end, she put all the blame on Nira. On the other hand, Manao was doing a photo shoot for a fashion magazine. Yodoi called the photographer to schedule a photo shoot for the newcomer, and this conversation was accidentally overheard by Manao's manager. After asking the photographer, the manager told Manao about this, but she still didn't take Yodoi seriously. She thought that they couldn't succeed without her, but Manao didn't know that Yodoi was not afraid of anyone when it came to supporting newcomers. Yodoi took the debut photo shoot for Nira as a backup with the aura of a goddess. Every style was easy for Nira. Yodoi was also very satisfied with Nira's performance. At the rehearsal scene for the fashion show, Nira was replacing Manao to practice for the performance. Yodoi had prepared for Nira to replace Manao Manal as the main model. This made the other models feel dissatisfied. They thought that a makeup artist was not worthy of standing on the same stage as them. However, Neera's strong aura made them also acknowledge her talent. In the end, no one had any other opinions. Yodoi saw Neera shine on stage, and he was even more determined to make her more famous. Finally, the party was about to begin. Rumrong was one of the models, so she had prepared carefully because Chat was also sitting in the audience watching the performance today. Rumrong deliberately showed affection in front of others. She even intentionally kissed Chat on the cheek in a crowded place. Neera accidentally witnessed this scene from afar. Chat turned his head and saw Neera standing far away. He wanted to go forward to explain, but Neera was angry because of the scene just now and didn't want to talk to him. Chat had no choice but to pull Neera into a corner to talk. Chat suddenly placed a kiss on Neera's lips. Neera was forced to kiss her, but she didn't resist. Unfortunately, Yodoi was looking for Neera and accidentally witnessed the whole thing. He reminded Neera not to continue this relationship. Yodoi was afraid that Rumrong would find Neera to cause trouble because Rumrong was a woman who was famous for being jealous and always keeping her husband. Yodoi also did not want Neera to be rumored to be famous for stealing other people's husbands. Meanwhile, Rumrong was going crazy in the makeup room. She asked Neera to do her makeup. When Neera just reached the door, she heard Rumrong making things difficult for Baitong. Neera walked in and wanted to demand justice for Baitong, but because the party was about to start, Neera could only restrain herself and then do Rumrong's makeup. After Neera did her makeup, Rumrong appeared with a gorgeous appearance. The rich lady suddenly remembered that the main model they were planning, Manao, had not arrived yet. The event was approaching, so Yodoi took this opportunity to tell the rich lady that Manao was almost unreachable and had not attended the rehearsal. The rich lady immediately called Manao, but she still lay in bed and refused to get up. The rich lady couldn't reach Manao, so she got angry. Yodoi quickly seized the opportunity. He made his proposal to the rich lady. The rich lady had no choice but to agree. Meanwhile, Manao was slowly brushing her teeth. She had no idea that her modeling career was about to be ruined by a makeup artist she despised. Manao appeared only 10 minutes before the show started. She pretended to have a stomachache, but everyone didn't believe Manao's ridiculous excuse. The rich lady saw Manao's disdainful attitude, so she got angry and decided to let Neera replace Manao on the stage. The rich lady didn't forget to mock Manao. Then they just left Manao standing there alone and left. The seed of hatred had been planted in Manao's heart. At this time, Rumrong was performing on stage. She walked out with a confident and arrogant attitude. The sweet Rumrong took the bouquet of flowers that she had arranged herself. She did so to show that she still had a lot of influence. Rumrong hoped to see Chat's jealousy, but at this moment, Chat did not show any discomfort. His face was cold and calm as he sat there. Surprisingly, when Rumrong returned backstage, she discovered that Neera was the main model of this event. Neera was wearing a pure white dress. As soon as Neera stepped onto the stage, everyone was stunned. Everyone exclaimed in admiration of Neera's beauty. Chat and Siriwat sat in the front row. Their eyes seemed to be filled with fascination for her performance. Neera confidently strode onto the stage, but then Neera did something that surprised everyone. She knelt down and kissed the rose in her hand. Then Neera gave it to Chat in front of everyone. This action made Rumrong backstage so angry that she gritted her teeth. Manao couldn't attend the event at the moment, so she stood on the sidelines sarcastically. This event had left a deep impression on Manao. Because Neera gave flowers to a married man, the media kept reporting bad news about her. They thought that Neera wanted to seduce a married man and destroy the happiness of other families. Neera received countless criticisms. She didn't know if what she did was right or wrong. The next morning, Dr. Ben turned on the TV to watch the news and saw the news. The doctor found out through the maid that Neera refused to eat breakfast, so he went to talk to. The doctor said that if she wanted to be famous, she would have been famous, but things weren't going in a good direction. Neera said that she didn't have such intentions. She wanted people to pay attention to her through her beauty and talent. Dr. Ben reminded Neera once again. Neera was empowered. She immediately called Yodoi. The two of them went out to meet. Yodoi said that Neera shouldn't become famous through scandals. Her recent actions had caused bad consequences. However, there was a way to deal with it. The important thing was whether Neera chose to fight or give up. Neera had to fight. Yodoi said that the first thing they had to do was make a plan. Suddenly, Yodoi received a phone call to cooperate in a cosmetics promotion event. This was not a small event. It just so happened that it could help Neera get rid of the current bad news. However, there was a problem. In this event, Neera would have to stand on the same stage with Manao. Luckily, Neera didn't mind this. In order to get what she wanted, she accepted the trade-off. In the evening, Neera and the doctor had dinner together. Neera suggested to Dr. Ben that she move out. Dr. Ben was angry when he heard that. He called her outside to talk. Dr. Ben asked Neera why she wanted to live alone. However, Neera could not give him any reasonable reason to convince him. Dr. Ben reminded Neera once again that if she wanted to become become a celebrity, he would not object. But if Nira wanted to become the woman who stole her aunt's husband, he thought it was not a good idea. Nira wanted to object, but Dr. Ben did not give her the chance. He told her to think for herself. Nira returned to her room and called the housekeeper. Besides her mother, the housekeeper was the only one who truly loved Nira. The next day, Nira was invited to Siriwat's costume party. He held the party at his bar. Yodoi asked her if she wanted to go, but Nira decided not to avoid it this time. That evening, she appeared at the party disguised as a man. This surprised Siriwat a little. Although Siriwat was a bit prejudiced, he overlooked Nira's unusual appearance in front of her beauty. Coincidentally, Chat was also present at today's party. Chat saw Siriwat constantly using intimate gestures with Nira, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. He watched for a while and couldn't stand it anymore. Chat stood up and decided to leave. Nira and the others also left. Unexpectedly, Chat stopped their car halfway. Yodoi didn't support Nira and Chat's relationship, so he said that Chat's actions would greatly affect them. Chat explained that he knew what he was doing. He also knew that his actions would affect Nira, but he was truly worried about Nira. Yodoi had no choice but to let the two of them talk privately. The day of the event quickly arrived. On stage, Nira showed off her skillful and sophisticated makeup skills. She attracted the attention of many people of the third gender. Yodoi below was also very satisfied. At this moment, Manao and her manager came over and pretended to greet Yodoi, but Manao's main purpose was to show off her own work. Manao thanked Yodoi for giving Manao the opportunity to earn double the salary. Yodoi was surprised to hear this. The host invited Manao to the stage and asked her to comment on Nira's makeup. Manao praised the makeup work as quite good, but the idea was nothing new. It was a bit outdated, but overall, Nira's makeup skills were okay. It made people feel quite interesting. At the end of the event, the two faced the reporters' interviews. Manao pushed her way to the front and made an excuse that she had something to do, so she wanted to be interviewed first. The reporters didn't hesitate to tease her. They asked directly about Nira replacing Manao on stage, but lying to the truth was not difficult for an actress like Manao. She falsely explained that she wasn't feeling well that day. Manao was replaced just because she was a little late, but she didn't know the specific reason. Nira did not give in and directly exposed Manao's lies on the spot. Unexpectedly, the reporters wanted to create more scandals, so they prepared very carefully. They directly built Nira's image as a model who deliberately smeared her colleagues. In a moment, Nira was attacked by public opinion. The internet was flooded with negative comments. They thought that Nira did it on purpose because she wanted to be famous. Netizens also praised Manao's arrogant behavior. She acted as if she wanted to declare to the world that no one could compare to her. Nira was furious. Nira understood that she was being criticized because her abilities had not been recognized, so Nira immediately called Yodoi and expressed her desire to develop comprehensively in many fields such as dancing, singing, and acting. Yodoi said that she should know one thing at a time. Nira thought that she needed to develop quickly so she could pay for her own studies, but Yodoi said that the problem was not money, but time. He gave Nira a work schedule. Nira's time was really limited. It turned out that Yodoi saw that Nira was determined to develop her career, so he also supported her with his connections. Yodoi immediately took Nira to film a music video for a big director, and he emphasized that this opportunity was very valuable. After that, Yodoi arranged for Nira to attend a good training class. Nira could not stop on her career path. One day after practice, Nira accidentally saw intimate photos of Chat and her aunt. Nira suddenly became confused. While going out the door, Nira accidentally bumped into Manao. Although Manao only fell lightly, she pretended to have sprained her ankle. Her manager made things worse. Nira started to fight back fiercely. The two argued and finally got into a fight. Finally, the teacher had to intervene to calm down Nira and Manao's anger, but Manao claimed that she was hit by Nira and broke her bones. Manao was even absent from an important person's advertisement. Baidong knew about this and quickly informed Nira because this person was a powerful figure called Young Master Tool. This person was considered the king of the entertainment industry. Anyone who offended him would almost certainly be pushed out of the entertainment industry. Baidong was also worried about Yodoi. Nira was also scared when she heard this, so she quickly asked Baitong to take her to apologize to Young Master Tool. However, it was not easy to meet a big figure. Nira had to wait for a long time before Young Master Toll finished his meeting. When Young Master Toll came out, Nira hurriedly ran over and said that she was the one who injured Manao's leg. Nira wanted to compensate for the damage, but the man suddenly got angry and asked Nira to say it again. Young Master Toll questioned who she was. Nira was scared. Just when the situation was tense, Yodoi appeared with great power. He said Nira was his person. Everyone thought that the two would start a fight, but the next second, they sat down and talked happily. It turned out that the two had been close friends for many years. Yodoi's main purpose was to inform Tool that Manao was not seriously injured. The reason Manao did not participate in the filming was because he only wanted to cause trouble for Nira. Coincidentally, proudly. To liked Nira at first sight. On the other side, Manao continued to do bad things. She knew that the old method was not effective, so she immediately sought out an old classmate who was a hacker. She hoped to find out Nira's dark past, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not find any traces. The next day, when Siriwat was playing golf enthusiastically, Siriwat suddenly saw her close friend Mr. Powell bringing a girl along, and this girl was Nira. Siriwat looked at the two of them, feeling confused. The woman Siriwat cared about now became someone else's girlfriend. Mr. Powell brought his beautiful girlfriend with him very proudly. He also asked Nira to demonstrate how to play golf for him. Nira did not refuse. She stepped forward to borrow Siriwat's golf club. She stepped forward to hold the golf club. Then Nira decisively swung the club out. Siriwat stood beside her in surprise. Siriwat felt that Nira's golfing style was exactly like his deceased son. Siriwat doubtfully stepped forward to ask who taught Nira to play golf. Nira deliberately answered that it was her father. Going back to the past, when she was young, Nira did not like to play golf, but her father forced her to learn, even though she did not want to. The mother was worried when her son loved her, so she told her husband not to force their son. However, not only did he not listen, he also verbally abused her. After the game, Yodoi was waiting for Nira outside. Siriwat implied that he did not know that Yodoi also took on these jobs for Nira. Yodoi denied it, and then quickly told Nira to greet everyone and leave. Mr. Pao was very pleased with Nira. He also advised Siriwat to find a beautiful girl like that. Siriwat immediately called Yodoi and wanted to invite Nira to become the representative of the luxury apartment promotion project he mentioned last time. This just happened to be the result they wanted. Returning home, Nira was haunted by the intertwined memories of her childhood with a terrible father, but her mother's wish for her to live happily. Dr. Ben's reminder and Chat's words, Nira couldn't control her emotions and became tormented. On this side, Manao's hacker classmate found a photo of Nira playing golf. He linked Nira's relationships with Siriwat's family, and he thought that Nira intended to take over the whole family. What if Rong knew that her brother was with the person she hated the most? What's more important is that he found out that Dr. Ben doesn't have any siblings or cousins. The same goes for Dr. Ben's wife. Nira's background is extremely difficult to determine. However, that's not important because that information is enough for Manao to ruin Nira's career. Unexpectedly, while Nira was out, she met Chat. He took her hand and went with her. Nira didn't refuse. This scene was accidentally discovered by Yodoi. He could only sigh. Then Yodoi took out his phone and called Nira back. He also told Nira not to go with Chat. Nira went back to take pictures. Her performance also made the manager very satisfied. Just when the portrait shoot was almost finished and the contract was about to be signed, Rong suddenly appeared and announced that she was one of the company's shareholders. However, Rong didn't receive any information about today's appointment. Rong's appearance made everyone feel very embarrassed, so they had to sit down and discuss, but Rong didn't listen to anyone. She didn't even distinguish the situation to mock Nira. Under Rong's anger, Siriwat couldn't do anything. Yodoi saw that and suggested taking Nira home first, but Rong still wouldn't let go. In front of everyone, Rong asked Chat to choose. She didn't expect that her husband wouldn't save face for her. Chat said he agreed to let Nira be the representative. When he heard Chat's answer, Rong completely collapsed. She perfectly revealed her true nature as a vulgar woman. Rong no longer had the image of a noble lady like before. At this time, Yodoi led Nira away first. Chat had completely lost his patience with the woman in front of him. Rong lost control and asked Chat why he married her if he didn't love her. Chat said that it was because Rong lied to him that she was pregnant. This sentence stunned everyone inside and outside the room. Yodoi and Nira were also surprised, but Nira's face showed a bit of satisfaction. After speaking, Chat turned around and walked away. He didn't expect to meet the woman he loved at the door. Then Nira slowly reached out her hand. They held hands and left. Chat took Nira to a place and he even cooked for her. Not seeing Chat come home, Rong called him repeatedly late at night, but she couldn't contact him. Rong immediately hired a private detective to investigate and follow him. She wanted to know where Chat was and what he was doing. On the other hand, Chat and Nira were still deeply in love. They were happily together for a long time without getting bored. Before going to bed, Chat couldn't help but kiss Nira on the cheek because Nira didn't come home for a night. Dr. Ben was also extremely worried. He had to call Yodoi's manager to ask for information, but now Yodoi didn't know where Nira was, so he had to let Baitong answer Dr. Ben's phone. Early the next morning, Chat offered to take Nira for a walk. The disappearance of the two people overnight made Rong extremely angry. She first went to Yodoi to question him. At the same time, Rong warned him to manage his artist well. If she found out that Nira continued to approach her husband, she would not let it go. Then Rong went to Dr. Ben's house. Rong frankly announced that his sister had seduced her husband. This made Dr. Ben extremely indignant, but when Dr. Ben reconsidered Rong's words, he felt that it was not unreasonable. Therefore, Ben could not refute. The private detective that Rong hired hired finally found traces of Chat. He also took a photo of Chat and Nira holding hands as they returned to the apartment. The photo was sent to Rong Rong. How could she easily ignore the woman who seduced her husband? As expected, the top news of the next day was a female makeup artist secretly met with the rich son-in-law of Siriwat family late at night. In a short time, this news spread all over the streets. Thus, Nira was once again caught up in the whirlpool of public opinion. Early in the morning, Nira turned on her phone and saw that social media was full of criticism and curses. Fearing that her career would end right from the start, Nira hurriedly went to Yodoi to discuss. Yodoi angrily asked Nira where she had gone. Nira also answered honestly. Yodoi angrily asked Nira if she had had sex with Chat. Nira calmly answered her, and Chat almost did it. This made Yodoi unable to control his anger and started cursing. When he returned home, Chat finally discovered that he was being followed. To check, he sent followers all over the city. Finally, Chat decided to return home and confront his wife. Rong Rong also admitted that she was the one who hired someone to follow him, and that she wanted to make Nira lose all honor. Hearing this, Chat couldn't bear it any longer and proposed a divorce. After saying that, he left without looking back. Chat didn't pay attention to Rong Rong's pleas. Due to the previous sleepover scandal, all of Nira's agency contracts were cancelled. When Nira was at a loss for what to do, Baitong suddenly gave her a glimmer of hope. Baitong told Nira that a foreign film crew was looking for actors. They didn't care about the scandal, only about ability. This was also Nira's only chance to regain her position. So Yodoi accompanied Nira to the audition. While Nira was mentally preparing, scenes of her father and Rong Rong constantly abusing and oppressing her suddenly appeared in her mind. The tragic scenes made her act out her painful emotions perfectly. Her emotional performance made all the judges at the scene applaud. Nira also successfully won the role and officially entered the international entertainment market. That night, when Yodoi took Nira home, they discovered that the road they had to take was blocked by a large truck, so Nira had no choice but to get out of the car and walk home. Unexpectedly, a group of strange men suddenly appeared and attacked Nira. At this moment, a mysterious person appeared, and in just a moment, he finished off the bad guys. Nira was so weak that she fainted. When Nira woke up, she hugged the mysterious person and cried. It turned out that this mysterious person was the butler in England. The butler said that he had returned to the country early and had always protected Nira. He was just waiting until she needed help. The butler said that this must be someone who ordered those people to do it. Nira remembered the chat message saying that Rong Rong had always been following them. Nira was sure that this kidnapping was directed by Rong Rong, so she decided that she could not sit still and take the beating. Nira asked the butler to secretly follow Rong Rong. After finishing the butler's work, Nira went to Yodoi. As soon as Nira entered the door, Yodoi announced a piece of news that surprised her. It turned out that the foreign director was very satisfied with Nira and agreed to let her participate, but Yodoi asked Nira seriously. He felt that she had many secrets. Yodoi did not know anything about Nira's past or parents. Nira was about to enter the entertainment industry, so everything about her would be exposed. Therefore, Yodoi wanted to clarify everything in advance to be mentally prepared. Nira knew that this time she could not escape, so she answered half truthfully, half falsely. Nira said that her father was useless, and her mother had sent her to live abroad since she was little. Their family lived near the woods, but a fire burned everything in their house. Nira also suffered burns all over her body, so she had to undergo full-body plastic surgery. While in the hospital, her mother died in a car accident, so after the surgery, Nira never saw her mother again. Nira returned home alone to find her mother's best friend, Dr. Ben. Yodoi and Baitong felt extremely heartbroken after hearing this story from Nira. They hugged Nira and cried. On the other hand, Siriwat was directing his subordinates to decorate the restaurant. Tonight, he will hold a party to welcome an important guest. After tricking Yodoi and Baitong, Nira went to the restaurant alone as promised. As soon as Siriwat arrived, he started to act despicably. Not only did he get close to her, he even reached out to touch her. He asked her why she came to his younger brother-in-law. Siriwat kept emphasizing that he was single. Nira should not be the one to destroy someone else's family happiness. It would be better for Nira to love Siriwat because he is both handsome and rich. Siriwat will definitely take good care of her. A lonely person needs a heart to rely on. Although their ages are a bit different, Siriwat promised to give her a villa. It would be considered compensation if Nira followed him. Nira said that she agreed, but if so, he would not be Nira's only man, and she would love many other people. So Siriwat should think carefully. But how could Nira's father bear such provocation? He immediately ran out to block Nira. Siriwat pressed Nira against the wall and tried to kiss her. Nira resisted with all her might. After escaping from him, she warned that if he continued like this, she would make his despicable behavior public. After escaping from Siriwat, she sat down on the ground and started crying. At this time, the doctor who was worried about Nira rushed over. Seeing Nira in pain, his heart ached greatly. He didn't want to hide his feelings anymore. The doctor couldn't help but kiss Nira on the lips. Unexpectedly, this scene was captured by Someone, Manao excitedly told Rong about this news, and she even asked the hacker to write a few words to add drama and post it online. The story with the famous beauty Nira instantly became a hot topic online. Everyone was talking about it, and many people discussed the relationship between Nira and the doctor. The doctor finally saw the news. He anxiously knocked on Nira's door. When she heard the news, Nira was equally shocked, because before, the two of them had declared that Nira was the doctor's sister, but now the internet was filled with pictures of them kissing. Yodoi saw this news and was extremely angry. Just yesterday, he had settled the matter of Nira and Chat, but today Nira openly kissed her brother on the street. Yodoi asked Nira if she was determined to become famous with scandals. Seeing Yodoi angry, Nira quickly apologized. She said she had her own reasons. Nira would explain everything to Yodoi after this incident. On the other hand, Chat went to Rom to discuss the divorce, but she absolutely refused to agree to the divorce. She didn't understand why her husband wanted a divorce, even though she didn't do anything. Meanwhile, Chat coldly said that if Rong hadn't lied to him that she was pregnant, he would never have married her. Hearing these words, Rong knew that Chat only had Nira in his heart, so she showed Chat the photo from last night. Chat's expression immediately changed when he saw the photo. At this moment, Yodoi's phone was constantly being called by reporters. In order to save Nira's image, Yodoi decided to hold a press conference immediately. He wanted Nira to clarify the kissing scandal herself. After arranging everything, Yodoi went to find a doctor and hoped that he could help clarify the scandal. Otherwise, Nira's reputation would be ruined. So at the press conference, the doctor took responsibility for everything. He declared that he had only had a secret crush on Nira, and that the two of them were not in a relationship as everyone said. The doctor also warned the person who took the photo that if that person continued to spread the rumor, he would receive a letter from a lawyer. This made Rong extremely panicked, so she hurriedly made an appointment to meet Manao to discuss about plan. But what Rong didn't know was that the butler Gil was secretly following her. While the two were sitting in the car discussing how to deal with Nira, the butler secretly took a photo of their license plate. On the day of the press conference, when it was time to take a group photo, a stranger suddenly appeared and he was holding a bouquet of yellow roses. Everyone was surprised to see this, but Nira wasn't scared at all. She naturally accepted this bouquet of yellow roses that was full of criticism. Nira's action made the reporters present excited because giving yellow flowers is not a lucky thing. In Thailand, yellow has a bad meaning. It implies that Nira is a loose person and her private life is not clean. Nira's easygoing attitude was applauded by the reporters. They kept asking her if she knew who sent the yellow flowers. Nira pretended to be sad and said she didn't know, but on the card was the address of the flower shop. If anyone finds out, they must inform her. Nira's action skillfully diverted the attention elsewhere. Even Yodoi was worried at first, but now he kept praising Nira. Rong was watching this event on the TV screen. She felt satisfied when she saw Nira receive the yellow flowers. Rong thought that Manao had finally helped her get revenge successfully, but on the other hand, Manao also thought that the yellow flowers were sent by Rong. Manao sent a message praising Rong. When Rong saw the message, she was immediately stunned and didn't understand what was going on. Meanwhile, Nira had a meaningful smile on her face. It turned out that the housekeeper had followed Manao yesterday and discovered that Manao had visited a flower shop. Nira knew about this and immediately had an idea. She instructed the housekeeper to buy an anonymous bouquet of yellow flowers and send them to the scene of the press conference. It turned out that the yellow flowers that symbolizes shame were Nira's own work. Manao had just left the flower shop and went to the bathroom alone, but unfortunately, she heard Nira's voice, so Manao locked the door. She was about to scold Nira about the yellow flowers. Manao opened her mouth to sarcastically say that Nira and the yellow flowers were a perfect match. Nira initially didn't intend to pay attention to Manao's trouble, but when Nira was about to step out the door, Manao stopped her and slapped her. Nira was not to be outdone. Nira did not hesitate to slap Manao back. When Nira was about to leave, she did not forget to warn Manao that if she wanted to fight, she was always ready. When Nira returned home, she started packing her things to prepare to move. Nira finished packing and went to the doctor's room. She wanted to say goodbye in person, but the doctor refused to open the door. Perhaps because of the recent love affair, he did not dare to face her. Nira saw that the doctor did not open the door, so she stood outside the door and said goodbye to the poor doctor. Nira thanked the doctor for everything he had done for her. She was about to turn around and leave when the doctor finally mustered up the courage to open the door. Nira hugged the doctor tightly. In her heart, the doctor was like a family member. The doctor also encouraged Nira to courageously pursue her dream. After saying goodbye, Assistant Baitong took Nira to the supermarket to buy things for the new house. When they passed by the sanitary napkin clearance shelf. Baitong reminded Nira to buy some for stock. However, Nira was a man, so she had no need and knew nothing about these products. But Nira didn't want Baitong to find out the truth, so she had to buy them haphazardly to hide her embarrassment. Baitong was very surprised when he saw the number of sanitary napkins that could be used until Nira's menopause. When the two arrived at the new house, Baitong really liked this big and beautiful house, so he suggested staying here for a night to experience it. But at that moment, Chat walked in with a bouquet of fresh flowers. Baitong understood and expressed that he didn't want to stay here to hinder Nira and Chat's feelings. After Baitong left, the two were affectionate with each other again. Chat promised Nira that he would soon divorce Rong Rong so that he could be with her openly. Chat saw that Nira's new house lacked furniture, so he suggested buying a large and soft mattress because Chat didn't want Nira to sleep on the floor with him. In the morning, Chat went to buy a mattress for Nira, but when he came home at night, he found his brother-in-law harassing the woman he loved. Siriwat saw Chat protecting Nira like that, so he angrily left after cursing. After he left, Nira hugged Chat and burst into tears. Chat was afraid that Siriwat would come back to take revenge on Nira, so he wanted to call the police, but Nira said she didn't want to make a big deal out of it because she had too many scandals recently. So the next day, Chat hired someone to change the door lock. On the other hand, Rong Rong and the rich woman were enjoying afternoon tea. The rich woman accidentally mentioned that she saw Chat buying a bed yesterday. Hearing this, Rong Rong was extremely angry. Rong Rong immediately went to the company to find Chat. However, Rong Rong couldn't find Chat anywhere. She had no place to vent her anger, so she went to the employee to vent it. Chat had no choice but to return to the company. When he saw Chat enter, Rong Rong became angry. He asked how many men could stand such a wife. Anyway, Chat couldn't stand it anymore, so he threw his salary card in front of Rong Rong and left. Rong Rong saw Chat trying to escape her control, and she started to get angry again. She immediately went to her makeup artist. Rong Rong asked to find a professional detective to thoroughly investigate Nira's past. However, an important condition was that the detective could not reveal any information. One day, Nira agreed to participate in a business event, which was the opening ceremony of a hotel for a real estate tycoon. But when the three of them arrived at the event scene, Yodoi and Baitong told Nira to go in alone. Nira thought it was the event's rule, so although she felt strange, she didn't say anything more. Nira slowly walked inside. However, when Nira saw Manao's assistant leisurely walking in, she was very surprised. As soon as she entered the door, Nira met Siriwat and Rong Rong. The event host saw Nira coming alone and asked curiously. Nira was very confused at this time. Siriwat on the side reminded her that Nira's manager was Yodoi. The event host immediately understood the problem but did not say anything. He just silently sent a female employee to serve Nira. It was not until Manao came to tease her that Nira knew the real reason. It turned out that this hotel forbade people of the third gender from entering because Yodoi and Baitong were both of the third gender. They could not attend the party. Manao said that people of the third gender were inherently inferior and did not deserve to stand with the people here. Hearing Manao's words, Nira looked around at people who called themselves nobles. She felt that they were no different from dogs. Then Nira turned back to see Yodoi and Baitong waving at her. Her heart ached. At this time, Rong Rong and Siriwat also came to take pictures. Siriwat shamelessly put his hand on Nira's shoulder. Nira couldn't stand it anymore. She angrily left the event before it ended. Nira immediately canceled the contract with the organizer. Nira walked out of the hotel under everyone's eyes. Nira cried and blamed Yodoi for not telling her the truth. However, Yodoi didn't want to be an obstacle on Nira's path to success, so he could only keep quiet. Nira thought that they were a working team and they were no different from a family. If they weren't respected somewhere, they wouldn't need to take that job. Nira also told Yodoi to return all the money from the event. Her bold action attracted a lot of attention from the media. They followed Nira to the filming location. Nira didn't want to affect the filming progress, so she had to appear in person to clarify. Nira explained to the media that after she entered the hotel, she discovered that the hotel did not allow people of the third gender to enter. Her manager and friends were all kicked out. This made Nira very uncomfortable. Nira's resolute attitude won the support of many people. Some people even considered Nira their idol. Nira's popularity skyrocketed once again. Manao and her manager were following the news. The manager blurted out a sentence that caught Manao's attention. Doubts arose in Manao's mind. She realized that Nira seemed to have special feelings for people of the third gender. Manao speculated that there must be someone of the third gender in Nira's family, so she quickly contacted Rong Rong. Manao wanted to continue to dig up information about Nira's origin and past. On the other hand, Siriwat held the contract that Chat had signed with company and threatened Chat. If Chat did not return to work and insisted on divorcing Rong Rong, Siriwat would hand over the photos in the briefcase to the press. At that time, Nira's reputation would be ruined. Faced with Siriwat's threats, Chat felt angry but helpless. To fight back against Siriwat, Chat appeared at the bachelor party that evening. Faced with the reporter's inquiries, Chat bravely declared that he and Rong Rong were currently living their own lives. They did not interfere with each other. This action made Rong Rong in front of the TV screen extremely angry. Because of Nira's statements supporting the third gender community, she received a lot of praise online. Yodoi was also very happy and told Nira that he would give himself an enjoyable vacation tonight, but Nira was very curious about where Yodoi would go. Nira knew that they would be going to a special bar that night, so the three of them went to the bar together. Since Nira was a famous star who advocated for people in the LGBT community, she was warmly welcomed by the owner. She was also invited to enjoy a special performance that day. The performer on stage was named Shan, and she was also a transgender. Unexpectedly, this girl was a huge fan of Nira. She used to be a man because Shan loved Nira. She had plastic surgery to look like Nira. Yodoi even joked that if someone slept with Shan, they might believe that they were sleeping with Nira because these two were really hard to tell apart. After a while, Nira saw Yodoi and Baitong having fun, so she didn't want to bother them, so Nira texted Chat to pick her up. When Chat arrived at the bar, Nira got in the car and immediately marked him with love on his cheek. At that moment, a high heel flew over and hit the two of them directly. Rong Rong pulled Nira out of the car and slapped her. Nira also refused to give up and fought back. Rong Rong was held back by Chat and couldn't escape, but her mouth continued to curse Nira with vulgar words. Rong Rong even took off her remaining high heel and threw it at Nira. Nira angrily rushed up and scolded Rong Rong as a vicious woman that no man would like. Rong Rong completely lost control when she heard that, and the two of them started fighting again. Pip saw that Rong Rong didn't want to make a big deal out of it, so she advised everyone to go inside the bar and talk, but Rong Rong completely ignored Pip. She directly said vicious words to insult them. Rong Rong even threatened to close Pip's bar. Pip went crazy when he heard Rong Rong's words. Pip angrily warned Rong Rong to know who she was and not dare to cause trouble in her territory. Rong Rong even dared to beat her people. Pip reminded Rong Rong to remember this face and ask others who Pip and Ali 2 was, but Pip didn't care about Rong Rong. Pip declared that if Rong Rong could close her bar, she would be Rong Rong's husband. Chat saw that Rong Rong was almost out of control, so he could only take her home first. They sat on the sofa. Chat wanted to discuss how to solve the problem, but Rong Rong didn't give him a chance to speak. She directly told him and Nira not to dream of being together openly, whether it was this life or the mean. Next, Rong Rong would not let Chat go. Not only that, Rong Rong also threatened Chat that if he didn't come home, she would find someone to get rid of Nira. The next day, Rong Rong drank alone to drown her sorrows. She couldn't understand why Pip was so protective of Nira. What is their relationship? So Rong Rong went to the makeup artist and his private detective to ask for information. The makeup artist said that before becoming a transgender, Pip was a famous gangster in Phuket. Pip had many subordinates under his command. After listening, Rong Rong began to think and combined it with what Manao had said before, that there might be a transgender in Nira's family. Rong Rong became more suspicious of the father-daughter relationship between Nira and Pip. She declared that she was willing to spend a lot of money to investigate this matter, so the detective started to stand guard and secretly take pictures in front of Nira's apartment. At the same time, he used money to bribe the building's cleaning staff. The detective asked them to collect Nira's household waste. On the other hand, Chat was driving on the road. He thought about his brother-in-law's warning in the morning and Rong Rong's attitude. Chat couldn't help but feel scared, so he went to Nira's apartment. He suggested that they should temporarily break up. Chat didn't want Nira to be hurt because of him, but she refused. She said that she was willing to accept it for him. Nira wasn't afraid of anything when she was with Chat. She thought that this was just an excuse for him to break up with her. After saying that, Nira turned around and left without looking back. After breaking up, Nira followed Yodoi and Baitong to the bar. She drank until she was drunk. Baitong hurriedly took Nira back to the apartment, but she still couldn't hide her sadness. That made Baitong not know what to do. Baitong called Yodoi to find a way to handle it. In the end, he had to call Dr. Ben. Not long after Dr. Ben arrived, he stayed by Nira's side quietly until the next afternoon, but they didn't expect that Nira's every move was being monitored and supervised by someone else. This man used money to bribe the building's cleaning staff to give him Nira's household waste. In the trash, he found some open sanitary napkins that had not been used. There were also some lubricants and some female hormone stimulants. Rong Rong immediately thought that Nira was pregnant. However, the detective denied it and told Rong Rong not to worry, because according to his observation, Chat had not been to the apartment for a long time. Therefore, it was impossible for Nira to be pregnant. Hearing this, Rong Rong seemed proud. But the strange thing was that Doc Ben stayed at Nira's apartment all night. They didn't leave together until the next afternoon. After receiving this photo, Rong Rong hurriedly went to Manao. She wanted to ask Manao's hacker to continue to exploit useful information. That evening, after thinking for a day, Chat went to Nira. Chat expressed that he didn't want to give up their relationship. He wanted to run away with Nira to a place where no one knew them. Nira was deeply moved by these words, but she hesitated. Nira told Chat that she had an important thing to do. When she finished, Nira would leave with him. Chat agreed. The two of them, just like that, promised a bright future without knowing that tragedy was not over yet. Since all this suffering was caused by Nira's father, they needed to clear things up once and for all. Nira picked up the phone and called Siriwat. The two of them arranged to meet at a restaurant. Siriwat was still the same. He showed his perverted behavior. Siriwat held Nira's hand and prepared to kiss her hand, but she immediately pulled her hand away. She started the conversation and went straight to the point. Nira asked them to make a deal. As long as Siriwat did not interfere in their business, Nira asked Siriwat what he needed. After hearing that, Siriwat smiled lightly. Siriwat shamelessly said that Nira did not even know what he wanted. Hearing this, Nira felt disgusted and she wanted to get rid of this annoying man. But in the end, Nira still agreed to give in. They agreed that Siriwat would not make things difficult for Nira and Chat anymore. After taking the photo at Batata, Nira found an excuse for Yodoi to return to the company first. She stayed alone at Batata waiting for the bastard father to show up. Nira texted Siriwat to pick her up. She had already finished preparing. Nira wore a beautiful outfit and went out. Nira didn't know that at the moment she acted, Manao had accidentally caught the information and was secretly waiting. Manao followed Nira's every move. Unexpectedly, a fan suddenly appeared next to Manao and asked to take a photo with her. This made Manao almost miss Nira's action. Manao saw Nira get into a strange car and quickly leave. Luckily, she was able to take a photo of the license plate. Nira had arrived at the hotel. Siriwat had prepared a romantic room with candles and flowers. Nira secretly felt disgusted. She drank the whole glass of wine in one gulp to gain courage. Then Nira suddenly asked him about his son. She asked him if he loved his son. Unexpectedly, Siriwat said that he loved his son very much. There was no father who did not love their child. Nira's tears suddenly fell. In her mind appeared the beautiful memories of her childhood with her father. That bad father had loved her so much. Nira did not want Siriwat to see her cry, so she quickly made an excuse to go to the bathroom. The memories of being tortured in her head made Nira extremely miserable. Siriwat waited for a long time without seeing her come out, so he started to lose patience and went to knock on the door. After regaining his composure, Nira walked out. She went to pour wine. Nira took the opportunity to pour some white powder into Siriwat's glass. Siriwat was impatient to quickly proceed to the next step. He did not think much and drank the whole glass of wine in one gulp. When he finished drinking very quickly, he gradually lost consciousness and became unconscious. Siriwat had lost consciousness. At this moment, Shan suddenly appeared and performed the perfect substitution. Siriwat was led to the room in a daze. At this time, he could only be ordered by Shan. Nira saw Siriwat enter, her face showing disgust and hatred. After arranging everything, Nira got into the butler's car to leave. Then she told the butler to pick Shan up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. At this time, the butler did not know what Nira had done. After returning home, Nira quickly called Shan to confirm the situation. Shan replied that everything went smoothly and according to plan. The next morning when Siriwat opened his eyes, he saw the beauty beside him. He asked her if she wanted to do it again, but when the beauty beside him turned around, Siriwat was so scared that he jumped out of bed. Then Siriwat panicked and checked his body. He was afraid and suspected that Shan was a transgender. Siriwat kept hating what he had done. He kept rubbing his body. A while later, Shan came to report the situation. Nira quickly asked if Shan was being bullied. Shan said she was fine. Actually, nothing happened last night. Siriwat fainted as soon as he entered the room, but Shan still took a picture of him sleeping as planned. To keep it a secret, Nira took out a new phone and exchanged it with Shan's phone. Nira also gave Shan a dress as a thank you. After Shan left, Nira quickly backed up the pictures to her phone because she knew Siriwat's tricks and the possibilities. When Siriwat found out that he had been teased by Nira, he could only go crazy with anger. He immediately called Nira. Siriwat officially announced that from now on, Nira had to be really careful. From now on, Nira shouldn't expect good days. But Nira on the other end of the phone wasn't afraid of Siriwat's threats. Nira frankly said that she had evidence in hand. If Siriwat dares to harass Nira and Chat and the people around them again, these photos will appear everywhere. After hanging up the phone, Siriwat looked at the end photos Nira sent. He was once again angry and helpless. Meanwhile, Manao went to Rong Rong. She showed Rong Rong the photos she secretly took last night. Manao asked Rong Rong if she knew who the owner of this car was. Manao suspected that this car was a company car used by Chat, but Rong Rong was very confident because her husband never used a company car. Rong Rong had no choice but to go home. She wanted to talk to her brother to clarify the situation. She went straight into the room. Rong Rong was worried when she saw her brother looking tired and gloomy in the dark room, but when she questioned him, she saw that he was confused. It seemed that Siriwat had something difficult difficult to say. He hesitated and did not want to reveal the truth. Under Rung Rong's constant urging, Siriwat was finally forced to tell everything that happened last night. Rung Rong was just as scared as Siriwat after hearing it. She was worried about whether he would be infected. Although Rung Rong felt that what her brother did was disgusting, she still decided to help Siriwat solve the problem in order to protect her family's honor. To deal with Nira, Rung Rong hired a detective and declared that she was willing to pay any price to unearth Nira's secret. The detective frankly said the cost would not be cheap. Siriwat agreed to the detective's request in order to bring Nira down. On the other hand, Nira thought that she had grasped Siriwat's weakness. She could finally live a peaceful life with Chat. She remembered what her mother had said, that happiness was very short-lived, so she had to seize every opportunity to live without regrets. Nira suddenly realized that that was what she had now, so she decided to let go of the past. Nira gave up her revenge and agreed to settle down in London with Chat. She will try to live well in the future. Chat looked at Nira, who had given up everything to come to him, with eyes full of affection. He was so moved that he was speechless. Chat immediately promised that he would quickly prepare so that they could leave. The next day, Nira went to see Dr. Ben and Mizan and said her final farewell to them. Dr. Ben was very happy for her after hearing her confession, and he sincerely hoped that she would be happy. But when Nira thought that a peaceful life was coming, she did not know that danger was gradually approaching. Right after Nira got out of the car at the apartment door, a mysterious guest appeared in the butler's car. As soon as this person got in the car, he kept saying strange things. He also suspected the butler's identity. This person also asked about the relationship between the butler and Nira. The butler realized that the situation was not good, so he had to find an excuse for this person to get off car. The next day, Nira lay on Chat, planning for a bright future. She suddenly received a call from the doctor. It turned out that the doctor's house had been robbed last night. Only Nira's medical records were missing. Hearing that, Nira quickly hung up and left, leaving Chat confused. Nira realized that her identity might be exposed, so she went to the housekeeper for help. The housekeeper also rushed over after hearing the news. After the housekeeper walked around the house to observe the remaining signs, he confirmed that this matter was definitely not simple. It was not difficult to guess that this matter was definitely aimed at Nira. Meanwhile, the detective was intently studying the documents that had been stolen from the doctor's place. Looking at the information on it, he showed a strange smile, so he brought the documents to Siriwat. The detective confidently offered a price of 3 million baht. Siriwat seemed hesitant after hearing this, but the detective revealed the secret that Siriwat's son might still be alive. Siriwat was shocked when he heard this and opened his eyes wide. The detective said bluntly that this 3 million baht would be the most valuable money Siriwat had ever spent in his life. To make Siriwat believe him, the detective also took out a photo of a handsome young man. The detective said that this person was Siriwat's son. If Siriwat were willing to pay, he would get more information. After the incident at Dr. Ben's house this morning, the housekeeper discovered that the situation had become serious. Based on this situation, Nira was very likely to be in danger. The housekeeper asked Nira to tell him what she had done. At the same time, he wanted to know if this matter was related to the incident where he brought Nira's friend to the hotel the other day. Nira could no longer hide it. She could only tell the truth. At the same time, she also expressed her intention to go to England to live together. Chat returned home and took all his belongings. Despite Rung Rong's objections, she knew that Chat was really determined this time. Rung Rong saw that she couldn't stop Chat, so she cried and went to find her brother for help. But Siriwat was also thinking about a lot of things at the moment. Siriwat didn't have the mind to deal with his sister's matter, so he just reminded Rung Rong not to touch Nira. Siriwat asked Rung Rong to stop crying and go back now. Rung Rong thought that her brother was so infatuated with that woman that he ignored her. She painfully said that she didn't want to talk to her brother anymore and left. Siriwat then remembered to look for Dr. Ben. He wanted to know if his son had gone to see the doctor. Dr. Ben told Siriwat that you had heard that your son had passed away. Siriwat asked if his ex-wife had planned to hide his son. Ben couldn't help but say that Siriwat's son had left him on the day he had slapped his son in the face. Hearing this, Siriwat collapsed, but everything happened just as the butler had worried. The detective had quickly prepared a plane ticket to England. When the butler arrived, he was already a step too late. The detective had already taken a taxi to the airport. In the dark and windy night, the detective had secretly broken into Nira's house in London. He took a flashlight and sneaked upstairs. The detective broke open the cabinet door and found Nira's medical records, along with information about her. When the detective was about to leave with the things he had collected, the butler suddenly appeared and stopped him from behind. To protect Nira's documents, the butler used all his strength to hug the detective and jump into the pool. The two continued to struggle underwater, but the butler was weaker, so he was eventually locked up by the detective and pushed into the water. After struggling for a while, the butler finally lost all his strength and he slowly sank below the pool. In the last moments of his life, the image of Neera and the beautiful memories were still present in his mind. He had devoted his whole life to Neera and her mother. The butler was very sorry that he could not be by Neera's side until the end. The butler passed away forever in the cold pool. Meanwhile, Neera seemed to have a bad feeling. She accidentally fell to the ground. Neera quickly stood up and kept calling the butler, but she did not know that the other end of the line could never answer the phone again. At this moment, Chat came to tell Neera that he had finished preparing and gave her the plane ticket that had been booked in advance. Neera happily hugged Chat tightly. What she had long wished for was finally about to come true. On the other hand, the detective had returned to the country and hurriedly made an appointment to meet Siriwa. Because of the importance of the information in the document, he asked for an additional 2 million baht. In order to get this information, the detective almost lost his life. After thinking for a while, Siriwa finally decided to buy the document at a high price. He looked at the name on the certificate. He had a bad feeling. Siriwat opened each photo of his son's plastic surgery. He gradually collapsed. Siriwat kept remembering Neera's childhood image. It turned out that Siriwat's son did not die in the accident but was always by his side. Finally, Siriwat could not bear the cruel truth and collapsed to the ground. On this side, Neera went to the office to say goodbye to Yodoe and Baitong. Neera expressed that she had never had many people by her side. They had given her the feeling of warmth like family. The three of them hugged each other and cried. The two expressed regret when Neera left. At the same time, they said that if Neera returned, they would always welcome her with open arms. Siriwat also told his younger sister the news at this time. Rumrong was also shocked when she heard the news. She did not expect that the woman who stole her husband and she wanted to exclude was her nephew. Before Rumrong could calm down, the detective came again. This time, he brought important documents. The detective wanted to know if Siriwat needed the documents because he had to risk his life to get them. So if Siriwat wanted to own them, he would have to pay a large sum of money. Otherwise, the detective would burn them in front of the two of them. Siriwat told Rumrong to send someone to follow the detective to get the remaining documents. At the same time, they had to make sure that the detective did not keep any copies. When they were alone, Siriwat opened the documents he had bought at a high price. Inside was a letter. These were the words that the wife had written to Siriwat, but before she could send it, she had a traffic accident and died. The content of the letter expressed the wife's torment for Siriwat. She emphasized that their son had endured extreme pain to become the person he wanted to be. Attached to the letter were photos of their son before and after surgery. After reading the letter, Siriwat recalled memories of the past. He became extremely miserable. Meanwhile, a subordinate of the detective, out of greed, stole photos from Neera's plastic surgery records. He sold them to a hacker working with Manal. This news was enough for the subordinate to sell them at a high price, and Manal could not ignore such shocking news. She immediately asked the hacker to post the news online. The news revealed that an actress had shot the entire entertainment industry because of her gender reassignment surgery. The hacker thought it was a bit cruel to do so, but Manal was determined to do it. Rumrong returned with the remaining documents. Siriwat mustered up his courage to open the document bag. Inside were pictures. Siriwat strung these pictures together. He combined them into each stage of the surgery. They now believed that Neera was Siriwat's son. He couldn't hold back his tears anymore. Rumrong, who was on the side, was also extremely surprised. She tried to calm down and comfort her brother. The pictures of Neera's transgender went viral on the internet, and people on the internet couldn't believe their eyes. When Neera saw the information online, she was completely stunned. Neera couldn't believe that her secret had been exposed. Neera was trembling. The glass of water in her hand was shaking non-stop. To calm herself down, she deliberately poured coffee on her face. Neera walked barefoot on broken glass. She let the glass cut her foot, but she didn't feel any pain. Suddenly, Neera lost her balance and fell to the ground, crying non-stop. Neera cursed the injustice of life and the world. On the other hand, Siriwat, everyone else were wondering why the pictures were posted online. When Chat returned and punched Siriwat painfully, Siriwat and Rumrong begged Chat to calm down. Then Siriwat gave Chat those documents. Chat looked through each picture and couldn't believe the truth before his eyes. Then Chat ran into the room alone and cried. Meanwhile, Neera was pouring each packet of medicine into the prepared ice cream bowl. Then she told herself and raised her glass to toast to her dreamy life. She started eating ice cream one by one. It could be seen that Neera's mind was no longer clear at this time, which is why she turned into this crazy form. Dr. Ben on this side also saw the news on TV. He was worried about Neera's safety. Dr. Ben knocked on Chat's door and asked Chat to give him the address where Neera was. Chat offered to go with the doctor to convince Neera. Siriwat was in extreme pain at this time. He knelt down and hugged Dr. Ben's legs. Siriwat regretted his sins. He begged the doctor to save his daughter. The doctor looked at Siriwat in a pitiful manner. Finally, he agreed to let Siriwat follow. At this time, Neera Nira was putting on makeup to make herself look beautiful. She wanted to leave in a gorgeous manner, but no matter how hard Nira tried, tears kept falling from her face. But when Nira turned around, she found Chat standing right behind her. Nira immediately became gentle. Nira asked Chat that he was here to pick her up. Nira told Chat to wait for her for a moment. She would be done soon. Chat slowly approached her and said she was already very beautiful, but Nira suddenly grabbed a small knife. Chat was worried that she would do something stupid, so he signaled the doctor outside the door to come in quickly. But this only made Nira even more agitated. Nira turned around and saw her father and aunt. This made Nira even angrier and more indignant. The doctor quickly comforted her and said that even if everyone knew the truth, they would still love her, just like the doctor had always loved Nira. Siriwat also quickly apologized to Nira. Siriwat said that he had always loved her. All his actions were just because he was worried about her. Siriwat was afraid that her choice would not be accepted by the public. He just wanted Nira to live happily. At this moment, Nira finally understood her father. It turned out that Siriwat had always loved her. He had always loved her in his own way. Nira turned around and said sorry, then put the knife to her neck. A lot of blood flowed out. This scene scared everyone. Fortunately, Nira was saved in the end. A year later, Nira lived alone in England, the scar on her neck standing out as a symbol of her having cut off the past. Rumrong finally agreed to divorce Chat. Rumrong stays at home to take care of Siriwa, who is suffering from depression. He waits for news from Nira every day. Manao goes out on the street and people keep throwing things at her. They throw cakes and eggs at her. Leaves fall from the sky. Chat and Nira look up at the sky as if they have never been apart. Nira is waiting for the day she can forgive herself. Maybe Nira will come back to find the person she loves. Today's drama ends here. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you again.